Hello, hello, and welcome back to the Pure Nintendo podcast. This is your weekly dose of all things Nintendo. My name is Gemma, and joining me this week, I have two excellent friends. I have Justin. Welcome back, Justin.
Hey everyone, good to be back.
Yeah, good to have you on the show. And welcome back, Kirk. How are you?
Hey, what? Good. It's always good to be here after a Nintendo Direct just happened.
Oh, yeah, it is. It is.
Yeah.
It's always an exciting week. I've been looking forward to this all week. So, to talk about it. And we've been looking forward to it, I guess, all month in terms of waiting for it to drop. And as it did, it just came out of the blue. It was like, when did they announce it? Sort of 24 hours ahead of time or something. Hey, we're going
Mhm.
to do a direct on Tuesday, whatever it was. So, yeah, what did you guys think of the direct overall before we get into the games? Justin, how'd you feel about it?
Yeah, I was pretty excited about it, as you guys may have surmised. Anytime it features Metroid, especially the often disregarded Metroid Prime 4, that
Mhm.
was yeah. It probably they probably could have had anything else in this direct if that and the fact they had Metroid Prime 4 info. It's one of my favorites directs.
Nice. Yeah, definitely. And how about you, Kirk? What did you think?
I thought it was a good Direct. I think there's a lot here that was interesting and surprising to me. I had read tons of rumors that we were going to get some Fire Emblem love. So when that didn't
Mm,
happen, it's always a bit of a letdown for me.
mhm.
But that doesn't mean, that they didn't give us enough to talk about otherwise. So, yeah, I thought it was one of the better ones of late.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. I definitely agree. I think it was a really good direct. Had lots of games. So 34 games were highlighted, and that includes DLC and Switch Online stuff. But it was a full direct, full of stuff and surprising stuff, like you said, things I wasn't expecting. I sort of thought, towards the end of the Switch's life cycle, we'd see a lot more ports and less new content, but we've got quite a few new games to talk about. So let's talk about our highlights because with 34 games, we can't talk about them all on this show. So we'll pull out the ones that we're most interested in and give our thoughts and opinions and what we think about them the most. And I thought the way that the show opened, because usually you're going to save something good till the end, right? And we know what that is. It's not a spoiler because if you've watched it, it was Metro Prime 4. And but there were a few games sprinkled throughout that were pretty big, I thought. Basically, Mario and Luigi Brothership, they opened with that, and I thought this is a brand new entry in the series. And I thought that was a really strong opener, and I guess maybe it was like they opened strong and they closed strong, and then they had a lot in the middle. But how did you guys feel about Mario and Luigi Brothership? I mean, I love that series. I'm sure you've both got, opinions about that as well. But who would like to start? Kirk, would you like to begin? How did you feel about this one? Have you played the previous entries in the series?
Again, I don't know. Like it feels familiar to me. But
Mhm.
I did like the way it looked. I really liked everything about the gameplay that we saw, and I think it's one I would like to check out. Yeah, it seems to be something along the lines of what I'm generally into.
Mhm, mhm. How about you, Justin?
Yeah, I've played the series. I don't know that I don't know if I've played all the way through all of them. Sometimes with the RPG games, I enjoy the gameplay. I love the art style and a lot of that, and the stories are
Mm,
fun.
mhm,
Bowser's Inside Story probably kept my attention the most all the way through,
mhm,
but yeah, I do like the combat even in these is a bit more. I like the uh, I don't know, some of the brother combos they do, like kicking the
mhm.
shells back and
Yeah.
forth. I know they've done some of that in Paper Mario and others, but I don't know. It's a very unique Mario RPG series, but
Mhm.
it's got some of the most fun dialogue. They all have their own fun dialogue in all the Mario RPGs, but
Yeah.
I don't know. And yeah, like Kirk was saying, the art style just looks beautiful. I think they did a really. It's got this like interesting comic. I don't know, 3D anime like, but
Mm.
it just looks good. I don't know. They did a really good job with it.
It did.
At
Mm.
first when I saw it, I thought it was actually a remake
Me too.
And so I
Yep.
was like, yeah, I was like, oh, they're doing a Mario and Luigi remake, you know? And then as it
Mhm.
went on, I'm like, wait a minute, I don't recognize some of these areas. And what's that ship? And then what? You know? So, um, so it was very, very pleased to see that it was a brand new entry. So, I went into this direct kind of just expecting a bunch of ports and remasters,
Mm.
just kind of
Mhm.
to ride out the end of the Switch. But yeah, very pleasantly surprised. So.
Yeah, me too. And so this marks the 6th entry in the Mario and Luigi series, and the last one was in 2015, I think, which was Mario and Luigi Paper Jam, which I don't think I played that one. I played all the other ones. Superstar Saga was the first in 2003, and then we've had Partners in Time, Bowser's Inside Story that you mentioned, and like you said, they all have very, kind of quirky dialogue, kind of humorous. Yeah, I like them for that as well. It just changes the formula up instead of, like you end up working with Bowser, or in the case of Inside Bowser's Story, you're inside Bowser, like literally inside.
Yes.
It's like they can have a lot of fun with the Mario universe and do all these quirky, interesting things. So it'll be really cool to see what they do with this next one. But yeah, I thought the same thing. I thought it was going to be a port straight away. I'm like, oh, which one's that? Is that Partners in Time, or which one are they doing? Which one are they porting? So yeah,
Yeah.
like I said, a great way to open the direct and give us something pretty big and new, and that looks really, really cool. So definitely excited about that. Now that one comes out on November the 7th, so it's not even that far away. A few
Yeah.
months away, really. Yeah. So we're looking forward to that. And it kind of, I mean, last year at that time we got Super Mario RPG, the remake, didn't we? Around that time. Was it October, November, wasn't it? I think. So this year we've had, so in the last 12 months, we would have had Super Mario RPG and what was the other one we had earlier this year? Just had a mental blank.
Thousand Year Door.
Yeah. Thousand Year Door, Paper Mario, which kind of leans into that world. And then now a brand new entry in Mario Luigi. So that's pretty decent, even though the first two are ports. They're quite old games, and yeah, I like that
Yeah.
they've continued this, and it's almost like a reward. Like we've given you two terrific ports, like really, really great ports of really, really
Yeah.
great games, and now we're going to give you a brand new one. It's like,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, I like that. I really like that. Well, let's move on. There are a couple of, yeah, like I said, we can't mention all of them, unfortunately. There's just so many. But they did talk about Nintendo World Championships, which you already knew is coming out in July. And then there were a lot of RPGs featured, or quite a few RPGs featured in the direct. And, we know Kirk loves his RPGs. I also love RPGs, perhaps not as much as Kirk, and Kirk leans more into the JRPG territory. So Fantasian was one that was mentioned, and it is from the Final Fantasy creator. How do you feel about this one, Kirk? What was your first impression? This is completely new to us, right? I did not know about this. Was that the case for you also?
Well, I knew of the game because it's
Right.
been on Apple Arcade for
Of
quite some
course.
time.
Hmm.
In fact, this is the reason why I actually subscribed to Apple Arcade.
Really?
Because the build up to this game that they had, the way they were selling it, mainly because, and I don't know that they really highlighted this. Maybe they did, and I just missed it in the Nintendo Direct. But the backgrounds in this game are actual physical dioramas that they built by hand
Oh
and then
wow.
photographed, and then the
Wow.
characters are actually placed within it, and the special effects. So it's got this really cool look
Yeah.
that I haven't seen in any other game along this way. That blend of like the computer graphics and the real imagery. And there are some really really cool sets that they built on this. It must have taken them just so long to put this whole thing together.
Yeah.
But it's got excellent gameplay. I think Final Fantasy fans are really going to be into it. It very much has the same style kind of characters. The story is like that. Is I often talk about my JRPG melodrama, and there's quite a bit in this. There are love interests and sort of like love triangles that happen and jealousies amongst the people on the same team. Um, but it's got some really good gameplay too. They highlighted the ability, like with your weapons, you could kind of on the iPad screen, you would sort of like just slide or swipe down to like curve the angle of your attack, so you could take out more
Mm.
enemies. But there are also power ups that they place on the screen. So if your attack hits one of those, you get that power up. Just a lot of different strategies you can use. A lot of variety in the enemies that you're facing and the settings that you're in. And it's got a really good story that pushes along with some good characters. Of course, there are side quests, and it kind of follows that Final Fantasy setup where at the beginning you're really kind of pushed along, maybe throughout like the whole entire first half of the game, to follow a certain path, and then after that it kind of opens up and you can go wherever you want and explore and find a lot more things. So it
Cool.
even changes up the way the game is played halfway through. Just an excellent game that I never would have thought was going to appear anywhere else. But I
Mm.
loved it on the iPad, and I'll be curious to see if I enjoyed as much on the Switch.
So it was basically, was it made for the iPad?
Yes, it was
Yeah.
made specifically for Apple Arcade. Now, I don't know if that's what they were doing first, or if Apple just got wind of it and said, this looks like a good
Mm.
game. Let's make this exclusive.
Mhm.
Um, but it certainly worked, and it is to this day the only game on Apple Arcade that I would have played all the way through or spent any considerable amount of time.
Wow. Yeah. And that came out, was it 2021
Yeah,
originally, I
yeah,
think?
I can't say for sure, but yeah, it was definitely a
Mm.
while back.
So a few years, couple years old, and that doesn't sound like an exclusive. Usually when it's an exclusive title, it has like a 6 or 12-month lead time or something, doesn't it? If
Yeah.
it was intended for Switch at that time. So, yeah, whatever reason, unless they had some sort of contract in place, like you can't go anywhere for 3 years, I don't know. Anyway, whatever reason, it's good that it's coming to the Switch, that's for sure. Is it? Yeah, that's really cool. And it comes out in holiday. They didn't give a specific date for this one, so it was holiday 2024, which is, I guess, around December time. Is that correct? Is that what we generally think of as holiday time?
Yeah, maybe late mid November, late November, we start the build up to Thanksgiving
Mhm.
here in the
Okay,
U.S., and that's what kicks off our holiday season.
cool. Okay. Yeah, it definitely looks lovely. Like it really doesn't have absolutely has that Final Fantasy-esque quality to it. Is it a long game on the Apple Arcade, Kirk? Like you said, you played all the way through. How many hours worth of gameplay would that be? I just wouldn't have thought an Apple Arcade game would be super long.
No, it was. Well, I'll say long for Apple Arcade, maybe not as long
Mm.
as JRPG fans, on modern consoles would. Well, I guess the iPad is a modern console in a
Yeah,
way.
in a way.
But the more advanced gaming consoles, it's probably not exactly as big as they expect. But it's not knowing what they're going to ask for it. I'd say you're going to get your money's worth.
Yeah. I wonder if they'll add extra, I don't know, levels or areas or something to kind of flesh it out a bit more, or give it some exclusivity on the Switch. They didn't really go into that, I
Yeah,
suppose, but we'll find out maybe later.
yeah. I hope so. That would especially be good
Yeah.
for all of us who have played it on iOS to
Yeah.
have
Yeah.
a reason to go through it again.
Yeah, exactly. Well, we can always hope, and that happens quite a lot, so I wouldn't be surprised. Next up is Nintendo Switch Sports, which is kind of, I'd forgotten that this existed, to be honest, but it's kind of the game that keeps on giving in a way, because it has a free update coming with a new sport, which is basketball, which looks really cool. Justin, you might want to start with this one, but yeah, looks like it's got 2-on-2 matches, solo challenges, local or online matches. How do you feel about this one? Are you a basketball fan?
I'm not necessarily a basketball fan, but I do remember playing. Was it Wii Sports Resort? I think that had
Oh yeah.
a basketball option, and you could shoot 3 pointers, and it looks like they have a mode that is basically probably exactly that from that iteration. But then you can actually play basketball too, so passing, and I guess your characters will probably just auto run down the court. But um, it looks interesting, man. I just Switch Sports was such a missed opportunity. I don't
Mm,
think this will revive it much for me.
yeah.
But like I hope that they keep making it better. But I don't know. There's some really kind of core foundational gameplay things that I don't know. It just wasn't as fun as Wii Sports tennis, and some like even some of the ones that they have similar sports with and Switch Sports. It just was not as didn't seem like it was as much in depth as the Wii Sports game. So I don't know. Uh,
Yeah.
but
Interesting. Mm.
I'm interested to like if it sounds like they're gonna kind of keep that little Spacco square or that kind of little area they've made. I don't mind the new kind of me characters they've designed. Like hey, keep adding more sports to this, keep trying to build it up, but as of right now, it's still a bit of a shell of
Mm.
what Wii Sports used to be. But,
Yeah, which is funny because Wii Sports didn't it only have four sports, I think? Wasn't it four? At
yeah,
least
4 or 5.
initially. Yeah.
Yeah,
And how
yeah,
many do we have now on Nintendo Switch Sports?
yeah. There's quite a few. Like it just doesn't have some of those. I guess it does have tennis, right? Um, Switchboards,
Yeah. Yeah.
but
And
I just
badminton,
don't.
it has badminton, right?
Oh, it doesn't have tennis.
Really? Wow. Maybe that's
Man,
why it's not not as popular. Tennis was the
yeah.
best.
Oh,
I don't
tennis
have it, I
was.
have to admit. I didn't get this one. I played it at a family member's house a few times. But like you
Yeah,
said, it was a missed opportunity. It just didn't seem to grab me like Wii
yeah.
Sports did.
Oh, they did come out with golf, another free update. I never picked it back
Hmm.
up for golf. Oh wait, no, they do have a tennis.
I
Yeah,
thought I
they
played
do.
tennis on it
Yeah,
ages
so
ago. Yeah.
they have soccer, volleyball, bowling, tennis, badminton, and Shambara, the sword one. But and then so
Mm,
now they've added golf and now basketball.
right. Yeah. And I mean,
Interesting.
maybe it's because it came out later in the Switch's kind of life cycle because it was only 2 years ago, wasn't it? 2022. And being, well, that was still COVID times as well. Being such
Yeah,
an interactive game that you play with friends and family usually, I
yeah,
wonder if that made it harder. I don't know, because people weren't going out as much and spending time in person with people as much at
yeah.
that time. I don't know. That might have impacted it a little bit.
I don't know. I would definitely try it again. I like seeing it now. I did not even check out golf when that came out, and that was like last year, or the year before. I don't know. So
Mm. Mhm.
um, I actually liked the golf on Wii Sports. I don't know if you guys had known this, but the layouts for the holes are from the NES golf game that Nintendo did
Really?
way back. Yeah. So yeah, if you look at the top down representations of the courses in Wii Sports, they're basically the same as the NES golf ones. So
I did not know that. That is such a nice touch.
mhm.
Yeah, that's actually really cool. I wonder what they did in Nintendo Switch Sports Golf then. I wonder if they carried over that theme
I
into
don't.
this
Yeah, I
version.
don't know. I'm actually curious. I'm gonna have to look up the golf mode on Switch Sports now. I Yeah, I don't know if it's is it just redoing some of the Wii Sports golf levels, or maybe it has its own. I don't know.
Mm,
But that would
yeah.
certainly be interesting to
Yeah.
check out.
And Kirk, what did you think about the basketball update
Well,
in Nintendo Switch
It's, uh,
Sports?
it's kind of funny because I'm kind of right in sync with both of you. I
Mm,
have Switch Sports. I haven't played it in months and months,
mhm.
and had kind of forgotten about it. Um, but on and again, the same with Justin. Golf came out, and I know it downloaded, but I never fired it up and played. But we
Yeah.
did like basketball on the Wii, and I expect that it's a good way for us to bust open the game again, play that, see if we like it, and then go back to playing the other one because we did play a lot of badminton when that came out, and of course bowling. But then just kind of lost it. So maybe this will be enough for us to consider breaking it open again and putting it back in place as one of our party games.
Yeah, that sounds good. Do you know maybe, Justin, do you know how well this game has done generally, like sales wise or, Metacritic wise? Has it been popular?
I feel like Metacritic it was not great. I
Mm.
feel like it was like 70s,
Hmm.
maybe even less. 72.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, 72. Like I was kind of thinking it was kind of sixes, seven. Like some people were really kind of. It was. Yeah, I wouldn't say that's like widely panned territory, but it's certainly not uh, what was almost like a generational moment for the Wii with Wii Sport. Like Wii Sports
Mm.
just like was amazing. I don't know, it
Yeah.
just it was amazing how much that took off. But it says, according to their sales as of March, 13 million copies.
Okay. Yeah.
So that's nothing to sneeze at there. That's
Yeah.
I mean, but like that's still nowhere near Wii Sports, right? Like, how
Mm.
many was it? 100 million
Yeah. That
uh,
was ridiculous. Yeah.
Wii's were sold, bundled with Wii Sports, and then of course Wii Sports Resort, and didn't they do a wasn't there an HD version? Am I just
Oh, yeah.
am I I'm totally blanking on things
Yeah.
here, but
Well, it's going back a ways now, but yeah.
yeah, they had Wii Sports Club. That's what I was thinking of on the Wii U,
Mm. Mhm.
and it basically was yeah HD remake of the original. Man, oh yeah, I want that. Bring that back. Uh,
Yeah. What happened to that? Maybe they should have done that. Their
yeah,
re-releases tend to do quite well. It's funny
yeah,
because I was thinking, you said how successful the original game was, and I mean, that's because it was bundled with the Wii, I guess. So, but it's also hard to what is the phrase about catching lightning in a bottle twice or something? I don't know.
yeah,
Um, but then I'm thinking they do love sequels, of course. If a game does well, they always do sequels. Like Mario Kart is
yeah,
a great example. Look at the latest version of Mario Kart, Mario Kart 8, and that's the the best selling of all the Mario Karts, I believe, or
yeah,
maybe not Mario Kart Wii, but it's up there. Um, and that's the eighth title in the
yeah,
series. So they can improve and they can do
mhm,
better in something that's already successful. Not that they
yeah,
could ever match Wii Sports just because that was bundled, but yeah, there's no reason why they
yeah,
can't make a sports game that's fun and successful. I think it was
yeah,
partly the timing of it, and maybe I don't know. I reckon if it was released earlier in the Switch's life cycle, I think it would have done better
yeah,
potentially.
definitely.
Mm.
Yeah, like Wii Sports Resort sold 31 million copies, so that was one that
Oh,
wasn't
okay.
bundled. Now, I think
Yeah.
Wii Sports Resort did come with the Motion Plus accessory, so probably a
Oh,
lot of
that's right.
people,
Mhm.
bought that. Although I think Skyward Sword also had a bundle of that too. Well, that was where they had like the smaller remote that had it built in, right?
Mhm.
There
Mhm.
was like an attachment that Wii Sports Resort launched with that attached to a regular remote.
Yeah.
And then there was the Wii Remote Plus or whatever that launched with Skyward
Yeah.
Sword. I think
Yeah.
that had it all in one.
Mhm.
Um, but yeah, like you're saying, if they came out with all the stuff from like Wii Sports Club on the Wii U, so basically HD versions of the original Wii Sports, get Wii Sports Resorts in there, try to do this whole Switch Sports thing too, but like just have a sports
Mm.
game that's kind of a live service type of thing where they just keep adding sports to it.
Mm. Mhm.
Man, they could just, I don't know. Seems like they're
Yeah.
sitting on some good stuff there.
Yeah. Yeah. Maybe the Switch 2 will have
Yeah.
something, but yeah, they'll do it a bit more. I don't know. They'll do it better. We'll see. We'll hope. But it's good they're still supporting it, like you said, and a new free update is nothing to sneeze at either. So, if you
Mhm.
have the game, go and enjoy it. That comes out in summer, which is kinda now, right? Like, it starts now. Summer's just begun, so it could be any time in the next 3 months, I guess. So we'll look forward to an actual release date for that one. Next up is a really interesting little title that Justin is gonna talk to, which is Memories in Orbit. This one doesn't come out until next year. What do you know about this one?
Yeah, this one, I don't know if you guys noticed this in the direct, but it really sometimes Metroidvanias kind of blur together for me. Not to cast any shade on a lot of indie devs that decide to do a Metroidvania, but it's really hard to differentiate yourself, with
Mm, mhm.
with a Metroidvania. Like a lot of them just look really similar, and so it's just really hard to stand out. But the art style in Mio, this Memories in Orbit, just looked gorgeous. It's like this kind of like paint, almost looks like a painting, but kind of sketchy too.
Yeah, it does.
Um,
Mm.
but just looked beautiful art style wise. It kind of reminds me of like Greece and some of these other, just very
Mm, mhm.
like uh, you just capture your eyes just like, man, this looks beautiful. Like any screenshot of the game almost looks like something we could put in our game art section in the magazine.
Yeah, absolutely. It does.
So I it does look like it's Metroidvania-like. I'll be interested to see what they do with it. But I'm sure like this is a pretty big reveal for this game to show up in a Nintendo Direct like this. It's some pretty big exposure. It has like 120,000 views on YouTube. Um,
Yeah.
I'm hoping that I think they announced it for next year. I think was the date on it.
Yeah, 2025. No
Yeah,
specific release date, but worldwide on across all consoles by the looks of it.
yeah,
And this
yeah,
was the first announcement of it. So it hasn't been announced on any other system um, until until the direct, like you said. So
yeah.
yeah, that's pretty cool. It's a little French studio, indie game studio,
Mhm.
Douze Dixièmes, which I think is a number in French.
Anyways,
Yeah.
looks it really really caught my eye, and a lot of sometimes it's as I've been getting older, like there's the phase of life that I'm in with having raising a little guy.
Yeah.
Your video game time is a bit more at a premium, so
Hmm.
I find myself kind of gravitating to those safer games, or like just the games that you're like, yeah, I'm gonna make time to play that, or
Hmm.
like the franchises you just kind of know. But something like Mio, like that really catches my eye. I'm like, I want that. But, I don't like. I almost don't need to see any more gameplay. Like I've seen enough from that trailer to be
Yeah.
like, I would buy that. So,
Yeah. Yeah. No more
anyway,
spoilers.
yeah,
Yeah, cool. Yeah, it does look very interesting. And yeah, I guess we'll find out more over the next kind of 6 to whatever months until we hit next year when we get a release date. I assume it'll be the first half of next year, but we still don't know when Switch 2 is coming. We don't know. But yeah, that looks really interesting. Let's move on to a very different title to the last one, but similar to Nintendo Switch Sports. This is another sports title, which is Looney Tunes Wacky World of Sports, which has four arcade-style sports games bundled in and four-player local co-op. Comes out in the fall, so later this year. And Kirk, would you like to tell us your thoughts on this one?
Yeah, I don't know if I have in-depth thoughts yet because I, like anyone else, all I know is what I saw in the
Hmm.
direct.
Hmm.
But I'm a huge Looney Tunes fan. Have been ever since I was a kid. I used to get into arguments with people who were into Disney cartoon characters. Like, how can you do that? There's like, this is actually funny. These
Yeah.
people are telling jokes over here. It's not just nonsense.
Yeah.
So yeah, I was having that argument back when I was 6.
Who was your favorite character? Who's your
Oh,
favorite Looney
Daffy
Tunes?
Duck. Daffy Duck. But I
Yeah.
mean
Oh.
the original, like the early Daffy Duck, where he was like just absolutely insane instead of, kind of like a just kind of a jerk. Although he was still funny then,
Yeah. Yeah. I like
yeah.
Daffy too. Yeah. Um.
But
Yeah.
it kind of surprised me. It's like, oh, they're making a Looney Tunes game, and then I thought, why don't they do that more often? I don't know why
Mm.
with these wonderful characters that everybody still knows they haven't dipped into the video game world as much as they have. So I'm kind of looking forward to it. I don't know if we need another arcade style sports game system, but we'll
Mm.
see what it is, and I'm looking forward to seeing what they do with it.
Yeah, me too. It reminds me, I feel like in the 90s, there was a lot of love for Looney Tunes. We had, I guess, Space Jam, the movie, and I know there's been a sequel, but I haven't even watched that because I heard it was terrible. And like I sort of, even though Looney Tunes it goes back a long way, doesn't it? Was it like 30s, the 1930s or 40s or something? It's old, like right, it's really old.
Yeah.
But they played it a lot in the 90s, so I kind of grew up with it as well. And I remember there was a Tiny Toons, which is like the little
Yep.
kind of little versions of Bugs Bunny or whatever. It wasn't even Bugs Bunny, it was like Buster Bunny, but they had a Tiny Toons Wacky Sports game on the Super Nintendo that my cousins and I used to play, and this reminds me a lot of that, and I hope it captures that fun, feeling that we experienced with that game because that was actually that was a good time. I don't know if either of you ever played that, but yeah, we played that a lot when we were kids. This one only has the 4 arcade style sports. I think Tiny Toons was a bit more abstract with its it was almost like mini games more than sports per se. Like they were sport related, but they weren't like basketball or tennis. It was more like I can't even remember, but it was wacky, put it that way.
Yeah.
So yeah, we'll see. This looks interesting, and hopefully it's
Well, this
fun.
one they do have anvils falling
Yeah, okay.
as you're playing, so we've at least got that.
Oh, that's
There
it.
was
That's all good.
a Looney Tunes reboot on Cartoon Network a while ago, maybe even like 10 years ago, called the Looney Tunes Show, and the
Mhm.
premise was that Daffy. It was like a sitcom where Daffy had
Oh,
moved in with Bugs, and wackiness ensues. And it was hilarious.
yeah?
Like
Okay.
Kristen Wiig played Lola Bunny, and Fred Armisen was Speedy Gonzalez. I mean, it had these really like big name people playing the roles, and it was fantastic. I wish they would have made a video game of that somehow.
Yeah. Interesting they didn't. Yeah. And it's funny because, yeah, like I said, I grew up with it, even though it was I mean the classics, like the classics from the early whenever that was, like the 1930s or 40s, whatever it was. But they don't show them now. And maybe it's because we have Netflix and whatever. We don't really have just TV anymore so much. So my kids don't really know it, which is really sad. I feel like that's happening now. I feel like this generation doesn't necessarily get exposed to it as much as we did growing up in the, 70s, 80s, 90s, whatever it was
Yeah.
for for all of us. Yeah, so yeah, let's bring it back, Kirk. Let's
All
bring
right.
it back.
I'm jotting it down here in my list of things to do this weekend. Reignite the love for Looney Tunes.
Yeah, we can do it. We can do it. Well, let's move on to another. Well, this one is a port this time. So we did get some ports, and this one is one of them, and it is Donkey Kong Country Returns HD, which is 80 levels, including the 3DS levels. Like this one comes out in January, so not till early next year, January 16th. And Justin, did you want to talk to this one?
Yeah. I love Donkey Kong Country games. Give me some more good platformers like that. I'm hoping this means that they're getting the first game in HD. We already have Tropical Freeze that got ported to
Hmm.
the Switch. You realize now we've gone a whole generation now without a new Donkey Kong Country game or
Mm-hmm.
Donkey Kong game, which is kind of a bummer. But hopefully that means they're just gearing up for the Switch too, and there'll be a Donkey Kong game that's going to launch there. I could definitely see um, something for Switch 2, maybe close to launch that's a new Donkey Kong
Mm.
title. There's been rumors of like maybe a 3D one or possibly a new 2D one, um, but yeah, if you have both of these available on Switch, yeah, I'm glad more people will get to experience this. I don't remember if I played the 3DS levels. I remember having the 3DS port, but there was like a special world that had like 8 levels, something like that. But so that'll be cool that those are getting the HD treatment.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I'm there day one for this. I actually just recently re-downloaded Tropical Freeze for the Switch, just because I was in the mood for some more Donkey Kong. So it was kind of
Nice.
funny timing.
Yeah. Yeah, it is actually. Yeah, I mean, I don't think I played the 3DS version of this one. I definitely played the original back in the day. And yeah, it looked lovely back then, of course, but now, HD, it looks even lovelier. So looking forward to that one.
Yeah.
I do hope you're right that they are gearing up for something new for Donkey Kong. It's been a while. Speaking of 2D and 3D, I feel like Donkey Kong exists more in the two, because Mario goes 2D and 3D quite
Yeah.
often and is,
Yep.
maybe equally successful in both realms. Would you say
Mhm.
Donkey Kong is more successful or, more popular in the 2D environments?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
Mm.
like Donkey Kong 64, there's still some fans of DK64, but it's it's not the majority. Like I I enjoyed playing Donkey Kong 64, and it was kind of in that era of collectathons, of
Mm.
Banjo Kazooie and
Yeah.
stuff like that. But um, like seeing a franchise like Kirby was as heavily known for being a 2D franchise, right? But then
Mm.
you had the excellent Kirby and the Forgotten Land that,
Yeah.
that kind of catapults Kirby into 3D for the first time, and it was amazing. Like I
Mm.
Forgotten Land is probably one of my favorite Switch titles.
Right. Yeah.
like favorite Switch games in general. Like even if we think about like Breath of the Wild's a Wii U game too, right? Like if we think of like games that completely released just on Switch, Mario Kart 8 was a Wii U game.
Mm-hmm.
When you start to whittle down some of the Switch titles, there's you get a smaller list. Granted, it's still a pretty large title set, but a smaller list of like games that just launched, wholly on the Switch. But anyways,
Mm. Yeah, exactly.
um,
Yeah, I agree with that completely. Thank you, Justin. Well, another port that we already knew was coming, and in fact, it's out this week on the 27th of June, is Luigi's Mansion 2 HD. Kirk, what did you want to say about this one?
That I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah.
As much as I'm the guy who, whenever there's anything within the Mario World release, I'm the last one to get excited about it. Not that I'm knocking the games; they're just mostly not my style. But boy, I love the Luigi's Mansion games.
Mm.
Um, and as we've talked about before, everyone in my family played it. Like Sam and I played it together, and we raced Tyranny and Max, who were playing it together to see who was going to get done first, and they beat us. Um,
Yeah.
but I'm just, it doesn't look like there's any 2D component to this, or excuse me, 2-player component to this.
No.
At least not as in depth and that makes sense. But also, and Justin, correct me if I'm wrong on this, but I think this is the game where we played on the 3DS outside of the E3 Nintendo event, and that may be where you and I first met.
maybe, yeah,
Before the show, we met before the show, but then
yeah,
afterwards we played the game.
Oh, cool.
yeah. That's true. Yeah, I remember. Yeah, they had some, yeah, some playtime like in these kind of tinted
Yep.
areas outside.
Yeah,
Yeah.
outside the what was that place called? The Honda. Who I can't
Um,
remember the name of the place where they had that event show.
yeah. Ended up becoming the Microsoft Theater, I think.
Okay.
But I don't
Mm.
remember what it was called. But yeah, that's awesome, man. But yeah, Luigi's Mansion. They called it Dark Moon in the U.S. It was called Luigi's Mansion 2
Mm.
everywhere else, right? And all the other regions.
Yeah,
Uh,
I mean, I know it as Dark Moon for some reason. Maybe I
okay.
don't know if it was that in Australia or I just because I
Yeah.
was paying attention to the US.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, the multiplayer was. I remember having a good time with the multiplayer. So yeah, we'll have to see if we can play that online again. Man.
So there is a multiplayer component to this one?
Yes.
Oh,
Yeah.
as in like
How does it work? I didn't pick that up in all the things I've looked at it.
Yeah, so it's called the Scare Scraper.
mhm.
I don't know if Luigi's Mansion 3 did any of that. I don't think they
I think
did.
it did have something like
They
that.
had Luigi.
Yeah.
Oh, wait, no, yeah, Luigi Mansion 3 did have some multiplayer, didn't it? And like
Mhm.
you could even do up to 8 players for some of it.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, you're right. And they even came out with like some extra levels later or something like that. So, man, I feel like I need to go back to that and
Mm.
check
But
that out.
there's no co-op like there is in sorry, in Luigi's Mansion 3, is there? Like there's no Guigi.
Yeah, and I don't think I specified that when I said it before. It was the
Yeah.
co-op that appealed to us.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't think so. Because this was originally designed for the 3DS, so
Yeah.
the 3D
Mm.
visuals were kind of the main showcase with this game, and it was really cool. Like some of the boss battles, like I think the spider boss was really interesting because it went further into the. So most of
Oh,
Luigi's
yeah.
Mansion, you're kind of going left to right, but like the battle area for that, you go like back, like uh, away from your the camera. But that was
Mm.
really
Mhm.
cool, like having that kind of 3D effect for that. But,
Yeah, they did a good job with that, I think. They really utilized the 3D very well.
mhm,
So we won't get that popping out ness
yeah,
on the obviously, but the HD visuals should look very lovely. It would be nice if they did throw in a two-player co-op since we did have that in Luigi's Mansion 3, but it doesn't look like that's the thing in the trailers at least. So sadly, because yeah, that would be awesome to have two player. Because my kids both enjoyed Luigi's Mansion 3 together in co-op mode. I mean, we'll still get it because they just loved Luigi's Mansion 3.
Oh
And
yeah.
I've played all 3 of them, so looking forward to revisiting this one and giving it some love. So yeah, that's out very, very soon. So we'll probably talk about it next week, I guess, if any of us have had a chance to play it. We'll see how we go. Anything else with Luigi's Mansion, or shall we move on? I didn't want to cut you guys off if you still had stuff to say about that.
I was I was just thinking, now the Switch is going to have all of those games except for the first one, you know. So I'm
Mm,
hoping
hmm
maybe Luigi's Mansion. I think did that already get a 3DS port?
I don't know, actually.
I,
Did it?
I think it did.
It would be great
Um,
if they did that for the Switch 2 or something. I would love
yeah,
them to actually add the second player, though. I think that'd be
yeah,
really cool. Mm.
yeah. They did port Luigi's Mansion to the 3DS. So it's kind of funny. Luigi's
Ah,
Mansion 1 and 2 were on the 3DS, and then
yeah.
three comes out, on Switch. But now that we're getting 2, I'm like, well, why not 1 now? Let's get that one.
Hmm. Why
And
didn't they bundle them?
my guess is they can do it. Like this might have been a good first dry run. They've got kind of the engine now, and they could do Luigi's Mansion.
Mm.
'Cause especially since they already ported it to the 3DS, they've basically taken the 3DS Luigi Mansion 2, ported it to the Switch. We should be able to do something similar.
Yeah. I mean, Luigi's Mansion 3 is 5 years old now. So,
Yeah. Hmm.
we could get a new one on Switch 2 as well, potentially.
Yeah,
It's
I,
been a
I wouldn't
while.
be surprised if I could see us getting a Luigi's Mansion the first 2 years of the Switch too.
Mm. Yeah, I'd be happy with that.
Mm.
And so would Kirk by the sounds of it.
Some completely non-interesting trivia, but
Yeah.
the original Luigi's Mansion was technically one of the first Nintendo video games I ever owned, because when Tierney bought me the GameCube, that
Mm.
was one of the 2 games that she bought with it.
Nice.
Cool. Yeah,
Awesome.
that's
And that
very
was
cool.
that
Sorry.
was very interesting that it launched with a Luigi game. Like there'd always been a
Yeah.
Mario game with Nintendo systems, like up through the 64. And
Mm.
so, the fact that Luigi's Mansion it was just really really kind of a bold move, but I really liked that they did something very unique, and I'm glad it's still doing well.
Yeah, exactly. You have a lot of memories attached to the series there, Kirk, with your E3 memories and your
Yeah.
one of your first Nintendo games. That's cool.
I
Yeah.
hadn't thought about it, but Luigi's played a very important role in my life all these years. Maybe that's why whenever I have the option, I always select him as my character in any game.
Yeah.
I like it. I like it.
So when Luigi's Mansion 4, whenever, that's not a thing yet, but when that comes out, I just can't wait to see what happens in your life at that point, Kirk. Something exciting, I'm sure.
First game I played with grandkids, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You heard it here first.
Yeah.
Yes. Well, let's move on to Darkest Dungeon 2, which I think Kirk would like to talk about this one. But this one comes out in this one comes out July 15th. And what is the deal here? Prevent an apocalypse. Switch Online members can play the first game for free through June 26th. Oh, that's cool. Do you want to tell us about that, Kirk?
Yeah, well, and again, it's one I'm more interested in talking about without having actually ever played it before. I
Mm.
reviewed a game for Pure Nintendo a long while back called Vambrace Cold Soul. And when I was reviewing it and looking up information on it, all these sites I were looking at said we're comparing it to Darkest Dungeon. I never played Darkest Dungeon. I didn't dig any deeper than that. But when they announced Darkest Dungeon 2, I was thinking, how do I know that? Where's that come from? Like, oh, yeah, it's a
Mm.
game. So I don't think it's even developed by the same people who developed Vambrace, but it's one that's always been in the back of my mind. And now that there's I haven't downloaded it yet, but I will try, since I have online the original version, to see what it's like. And I'm looking forward. Since I enjoyed Vambrace, I want to see how close it is and find out if the two really are as connected as it seems. But definitely an interesting surprise in the direct for me.
Yeah, absolutely. So June the 26th. Okay, so that's what day is that? That would be Tuesday, something like that. Um,
Yeah, maybe Wednesday. Yeah, Tuesday or
yeah.
Wednesday. Yeah.
So you've got a couple of days, if you're listening, if you didn't know that already, to check it out. I would like to check that out actually. Also, I can get time to do that. Yeah, that's really cool. Okay, so and yeah, it comes out July 15th. So it's only less than a month away. So I'm sure we'll find out more about that one very, very soon. And if that's one you pick up, Kirk, then you can tell us about it when it comes
Yeah.
out.
I
And
do know they're supposed to be very difficult games. They're very
mm,
roguelite-ish, but
uh-huh.
have really cool artwork and just a very distinct style.
Yeah,
And
yeah. Cool. Well, that's good. I'm glad there's something that piqued your interest there, since there were no Fire Emblem games. Um, and so Switch Online got a little bit of love as well in the form of four new entries, I guess, coming to the collection there with A Link to the Past Four Swords. We've got Metroid Zero Mission. And I thought that was going to be the Metroid. Yeah, potentially that was it for Metroid, Justin, for the
I would have
direct. And
been,
I'm like,
I would have been
yeah,
I wouldn't have been surprised, but I would have been sad.
yeah. I was thinking of you when I saw that. I'm like, oh, there's a Metroid mentioned there. And then Turok Dinosaur Hunter and Perfect Dark. So pretty big titles
Yeah.
that have come to the Switch Online. So they're available right now. I haven't had a chance to try them just yet. I've played all of these in the past though. What do you
Yeah.
think, Justin? How do you feel about this collection or this addition to the online collection?
Yeah, I thought these were really fun shadow drops. I think
Mm.
sometimes they just drop these like in a press release in between directs, but I thought it was kind of cool that they're like, "Hey, here's some new ones, and they're available today."
Yeah.
Uh, yeah, Four Swords is great. I think that potentially has online too, because with the Switch Online service, it basically will simulate the local multiplayer online.
Right.
So I think if you say like, "Hey, play with friends online," I'd like to try that sometime. I haven't tried it yet, but it'd be fun to see if we could try Four Swords and see how it works online.
Yeah. Would be.
Um, but yeah, Metroid Zero Mission is great. That would be fun to replay. Turok was one of like maybe the first mature games that I have that I owned. Um,
Yeah.
so that kind of I had Turok and I had Turok 2.
Mm-hmm.
And they were they were what they were at the time, but
Yeah.
uh,
Yeah.
I have more nostalgia with Perfect Dark. Like, man, just like GoldenEye, just a ton of like video game parties. You're just playing with friends, and we played a ton of Perfect Dark.
Mm.
And so the fact that you can do online multiplayer, and I think you can do online co-op with it too, because that was another amazing thing that Perfect Dark had. You could play the whole campaign two-player split screen, which was pretty. I mean, that's sort of even unheard of today. you know,
Yeah, true.
like
Yeah.
like I know the Halo games did it, but really, other than those and Perfect Dark, there's really no
Yeah.
one even attempting that type of thing. But
No, maybe the Lego games. They
yeah,
kinda do
yeah,
something like that, but that's about it. Yeah.
yeah.
Interesting.
Anyways, I know they've done other remasters. Like I think there's a rare remaster or like collection that they have like on Xbox that Perfect Dark probably has a higher resolution and stuff like that. But I think it's so cool that Nintendo finally has GoldenEye. They've got Perfect Dark now, like in their vanilla versions, other than the online multiplayer. But that's just really cool to be able to have access to some of these originals in their um, original forms.
Yeah, totally. Is Perfect Dark something, like you would have expected to become more a series than it has been? Like, would you like to see
Oh,
new versions of this or
oh yeah. Well, and you saw. So I do follow some of the other Sony and Microsoft's announcements. Microsoft
Mm.
had a brand new Perfect Dark trailer for this would be
Ah.
the third game in that series. They did
Mhm.
Perfect Dark Zero, which was the first game that was post Microsoft acquisition.
Oh,
Um,
of Rare, wasn't it?
Yep.
Is it? Yeah,
And I,
that's
I
right.
remember
Yeah.
I remember being so saddened by that because Rare
Mm.
was such a big part of our memories on the 64,
Yeah.
and if you saw that Space World 2000 video where Nintendo had like a sizzle reel of things that were coming to the just announced GameCube, they had Joanna Dark, like a render of her, and so people were like, "Oh yeah, we're getting a Perfect Dark on the GameCube," and then it wasn't too long
Yeah.
after that that they ended up selling, but
Yeah.
uh, getting acquired by Microsoft. But um, so yeah, I'm a little surprised that it hasn't become more of a series. I haven't always liked Rare's output since the Microsoft
Mhm.
acquisition, um, but they've certainly done some unique and interesting games. Sea of Thieves is really interesting,
Mm.
but I'd like to see that potentially come to the Switch or the Switch 2, probably more likely. Um,
Yeah.
now that they've announced that to be kind of multi-platform,
Mhm.
but yeah, I would love Perfect Dark to continue to be a series. It is really interesting. It's like I miss those spy first person shooters where you have these missions. You're not just like running and gunning through some linear first person levels. Like you actually have to like, oh, I need to explore around. I need to find this thing, or I need to put this tracker on this,
Mhm.
or like it was just fun. Like it added some puzzles to first person games that it just made them a bit more interesting. So I think
Yeah.
there's a big opportunity to have those types of games again.
Kirk, can you make a note to bring that back as well, please? Thank you.
Yeah, I wrote that down as he was saying it, with a note to also bring back a video game called The Operative. No One Lives Forever. Does
Ooh,
Ah,
anyone
yeah.
remember that?
yeah.
Mhm.
I think it was just a PS2 game, but it's along the lines of what you were saying, where it was like a spy thing. There were missions. There was a better story as
Yeah.
opposed to just run and gun. You had to
Yeah.
kind of finesse your way through some things. I enjoy that kind of game much more. So maybe I should try Perfect Dark. I've never played it.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
it's got some zaniness to it, Kirk. Like it deals with like aliens and crazy, like it's got some uh X-Files style stuff in there. Not necessarily darker to like it's kind of it ventures into the campy, but
Mhm.
it's a really fun ride. I don't know. I thought it was a great campaign. So
Mm.
yeah, we should try some co-op in it. That'd be fun.
Cool.
Yeah, that sounds cool. Yes, definitely get into that one.
Mhm.
Well, next we have two pretty big ones. This is where the direct sort of took me by surprise, I guess, with two
Mhm.
new titles. So let's start Super Mario Party Jamboree,
Mhm.
which is coming out on October 17th, so not too far away. And I feel like the Mario Party games come out at that time of year, usually. Like the last two on the Switch that we've had, I feel like they've come out around that time. Anyway, this is a brand new entry, which is really cool because the last one was more of a collection of older boards, even though it was really fun. We love that. Is it Super Mario Party? Is that what it's called?
Yeah, yeah, Super Mario Party.
Yeah, which is really fun. This one looks huge. So we've got 5 new boards plus classic boards and 110 mini games. You can do 20-player online, kind of not exactly battles, but races, I guess, in Coupathlon mode. There's other modes as well. It just looks pretty exciting. I love Mario Party. I think we all do. I know, Kirk, you're a Mario Party fan, right?
Oh yeah, yeah. It's a
Yeah.
staple here in our household.
Yeah. 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 So this is definitely one that we'll be picking up for sure. How did you feel about this one? Were you surprised and happy, or how did you feel?
Yeah, actually, as they were showing it, I thought it looked like there's finally going to be enough big changes in this one to make it feel like it's
Mm.
worth it. I mentioned in some of the other games, like that Demon Slayer game I reviewed recently, that the thing I liked about it was that it differed enough from the Mario Party games that it felt new and fun. And I think it looks like we're going to get that out of this game. So
Mhm.
I'm quite looking forward to it.
Yeah, it does. I think one of the boards, sorry, I was gonna say track because it's Roll'em Raceway, which looks Mario Kart inspired. It just looks very different to anything we've seen before. Rainbow Galleria is set in a shopping center, which looks cool. It's got like, escalators and all sorts. And then there's Goomba Lagoon, which has, tides that come in and out and volcanoes that erupt. And then they didn't really show a lot about the other two, Mega Wiggler's Tree Party and King Bowser's Keep. But anything with Bowser in it looks pretty awesome to me. What do you think, Justin? How do you feel about this one?
I'm actually like I'm not a like you guys know me. I haven't been the most excited about Mario Party games in a while, but I
Mhm.
don't know. This one does feel like you were saying, Kirk. Just I don't know. It feels more. I don't know. Like, and it.
Mm. Mhm.
I was reading some stuff about the game afterwards. It seems like it's kind of going maybe back to some of the 64 games and
Mhm.
in scope. Maybe looks like there's a ton of mini games, but the new boards look really awesome. Some of the remakes of the old boards look great. It kind of reminds me of like Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, where you get these like really
Mm.
substantive updates to these old tracks, and you're like, man, it feels like it's a whole new track now. You
Yeah.
know, it's
Yes,
that much
exactly.
that much of a
Yeah.
glow up. Um, and so yeah, I'm this is the first Mario Party I've been excited about in a long time. So I definitely am interested in picking this one up. Like, yeah, Super Mario Party, since it was kind of it was in that weird territory of kind of like, yeah, it's just kind of some other stuff that's been out there a while, kind of remake and different, compilations. So I'm kind of, and even like the 3DS had some of that, right? Where here's like a
Mm.
100 best mini games. It's like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
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 Um, I like that they're incorporating some more, like some of those new mini games that show off some motion. I'm like, yes, you're finally doing some more with
Yeah.
the motion and the Joy-Con.
Mhm.
Um, it looks like that's kind of optional too. You can choose to not do the motion if you want. To me, that's fine. Like, hey, have the options. Um,
Yeah.
and yeah, that Coupathlon mode looks really interesting. Like, I don't know if you guys have played Fall Guys or
Yeah. Yes.
that type of thing. But yeah, I don't want Nintendo just to redo that. Uh,
Mhm.
but I think a mode like that lends itself perfectly to Mario Party.
That
So
is such a good comparison. I didn't even think of that. But you're right, because games like Fall Guy are super popular and
yeah,
fun, right? And you don't want Nintendo to do that because Nintendo is already different and unique and special. But they
yeah,
can totally lean on that formula
mhm,
with their own stuff. So that's why, yeah, this makes perfect sense using
yeah,
existing like Mario Party kind of style mini games and then giving it the online competitive treatment. I think that's a perfect way to do it.
mhm,
Yeah, that's awesome. That's a really good way to describe it, I think. Yeah, I'm excited. I think, yeah, they're very hit and miss over the years. I think there's been some ups and downs. We did enjoy the last one a lot, but yeah, it was obviously classic trucks. It's not sorry, not tracks. I keep saying that because of Mario Kart. It was classic boards, not new boards.
mhm,
I'm just excited to see this sheer number of characters you can choose from. The one thing in Super Mario Party was it had a very limited roster, and you couldn't unlock anyone, I don't think. They were all there by default.
yeah,
Um, this one looks like it has heaps. Like, I think, Shy Guy looked like he was there, and Hayden, my son, loves Shy Guy, so he's like, "Yes, Shy Guy's back."
mhm,
So, 'cause they always because there weren't many in the last version to choose from, they always were fighting over, like who was it? I can't remember now. Goomba or somebody. I don't know. Someone they both wanted to be, and they couldn't both be the same person. So yeah, I'm happy to see a bigger roster of characters. There must be at least 20, I guess, if there's 20 players. That means there must be at least 20 characters to choose from.
yeah,
Yeah. So we'll find out more about that one. The next one, which was, gosh, I was hugely surprised by this, and I'm looking forward to hearing your opinions, guys. The Legend of Zelda: Echoes of Wisdom. So this is a brand new entry in the Legend of Zelda series, but it has a huge twist, of course, because you're playing as Zelda. So who would like to begin with their thoughts on this one? Kirk, your name is first. Do you want to go first?
Sure. I'll go
Sure.
first.
Okay.
Um, yeah, it's funny because we were just talking recently about what they could do to continue to make Zelda games that aren't the open world, like the Breath of the
Mm.
Wild, and we talked about going a different path
Hmm.
with these kind of games, and that's almost exactly what they did.
Yeah.
I think it's great that we get to play as Zelda. I don't want to nitpick because I'm going to play the game and I'm going to like it a lot. I wish for Zelda's first game they had given her one with the approach more like, say, Twilight Princess or something like that. Because these games are fun, but this is very much a kiddie kind of presentation. The way they
Mm.
look like little toys on a
Yeah.
little set. And I would have liked, I think, a more serious approach to her first big
Mm.
adventure, where you're controlling her. But that's completely beside the point. That's just my personal preference,
Mhm.
and I think it's going to be fun. I enjoyed what was I can't I'm blanking right now. The game they released on the Switch, the other Zelda game that had this visual style.
Oh, was it a Link to the
Link's
Past?
Awakening.
Was it a
Link
Link to the
sorry, Link's
Past?
Awakening, sorry,
Awakening.
sorry, yep.
Okay,
My bad.
yeah, but I played and loved that, and like the game, the visuals that they use on this look so much better on TV when you're playing it, or
Mm,
on the console than they do when you're watching a video.
mhm.
And I don't know why that is, but it's so much easier to get used to that visual approach and to just fall into that world when you're actually playing the game. So, the little qualm I have here is probably going to pass away almost instantly once I play it. But yep, definitely adding it to my collection. Looking forward to it.
Yeah, yep. Very good, thank you, Kirk. Justin, how do you feel about this one? 'Cause you're a huge Zelda fan. Um,
Yes.
yeah, how does this fit into the series for you? And were you surprised to hear about it?
Yeah, I'm excited. I was a little surprised. Like it definitely, I wasn't thinking something would show up. Um, this late in the game. Like if I thought if there was a 2D Zelda, it might be like the Oracle games might
Mhm,
be getting
mhm.
remade or something similar to Link's Awakening. But um, yeah, this looks great. Um, you know, I think it's probably good that they didn't just have her wielding the Master Sword and all of that.
Mm,
Like,
mhm,
hey, she's got a different Triforce. Let's have her use that. So
mhm.
using the Triforce of Wisdom and kind of going. Even the title Echoes of Wisdom is really fun. You kind of have the
Mm.
double meaning of these little things she creates are called echoes too. But
Yeah, yeah.
it's kind of a fun title. Yeah, it looks really good. I'm hoping that there's me. I'm going to mention dungeons, but I
Yeah.
hope there's some really good dungeons in here. I did notice in the trailer that it looked like there's like a shot of the lake, and
Mhm.
there was like some sort of an entrance, and there was something next to it that looked kind of like a warp or save point or something. We don't know what it is yet, but so I'm hoping that's going to be a dungeon, and uh, I'm hoping that we hopefully should know this is there's probably going to be other items or maybe things that she can get and wield in the game. This is just maybe one of the more unique ones that they chose to highlight, but I'm curious to see what other things she can do in the game. Because like I don't know if I want to play this type of combat through the whole thing. Like, am I going to go through a
Mhm.
dungeon and um, spawn enemies to take out,
Yeah.
a boss or anyway, so I hope there's some other. It might be kind of interesting if she goes into these dungeons and she kind of loses access to that rod because
Oh,
it
yeah. Mhm.
looks it looks like it could almost break things. Like if you're in a dungeon and you're like, well, I'm going to create this big stack over here and trampoline and so I'm wondering if they could do something where she goes in these places, it like the tri rod loses its power or glow or whatever,
Mm, mhm.
and then there's some like unique item you can still get in there and still use it to beat the boss, and then use it throughout in the overworld, um, but you can't use that kind of overpowered MacGuffin in there. I don't
Yeah.
know.
That's a
Uh,
good point. Yeah.
so
Uh,
I don't know. So I hope there's. I'm sure there's more. They're just showing us. They chose just to highlight this specific item, which is really unique and
mm.
interesting. But I hope there's a lot here. I'm glad it's not a remake. I'm glad it's a totally new game, and that it's coming out so soon, like September. That's like.
Yeah.
I mean, we're talking like 3 months from next week.
Yeah.
So
Mhm. It is
Yeah,
very
I'm
soon.
gonna quickly echo what Justin said, because my thought as I was watching her use the tri rod is that this is kind of like the Ultra Hand.
mm-hmm.
Yes. I thought you'd say that, Kirk. Yep.
Yeah, you know how I felt about that. But
Yeah.
like, because like even in Tears of the Kingdom, you had the ability, once you created something, you could then create it anywhere, and that's exactly what they're doing with this tri rod.
Mm-hmm.
Although it looks like you're restricted to like, okay, boxes and stuff like that. You're not building, your own giant flying contraptions.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, so I agree with what Justin was saying. I just wanted to point that out, that I hope this isn't something where it makes it too easy to access things, or you need to rely on that as opposed to your wits and like solving a puzzle. You could just build your way around it. So that is something I was concerned about and forgot to mention earlier.
Yeah, it's interesting. I don't know, how it's going to work exactly. Apart from what we saw in the trailer, it's a unique way to do it for a top-down Zelda game. You know, obviously it seems like it is a little bit based on the Ultra Hand, like you said, but yeah, this new tri-rod weapon has a lot of potential. I hope what you said is right though, Justin. I do hope Zelda has access to other items, and that's a staple in the series that Link always has, whether it's the boomerang or some sort of wand or bombs or whatever. He's got an arsenal of of items at his disposal. So I assume it would have to be the same with Zelda, and
Yeah.
maybe for her, the Tri-Rod is her primary weapon, like the Master Sword would be for Link, and then he has
Mhm.
that secondary weapon, that he switches out, the bombs and boomerang, whatever. And so
Yeah.
maybe this is her case. She's got the Tri-Rod as her primary weapon, and then she can switch in and out other items. Like I can't imagine there not being bombs in a Zelda game. That would just be weird if there's no like little cracks on the side that we can't bomb to open caves. Like that would not gel with me. You
Yeah.
need to
Maybe
have
she'll be able to use the tri rod to make a bomb.
maybe. But I do hope there's some combat though. I don't want her to just spawn, like Justin said, I don't want her to just spawn enemies to fight on my behalf. I want to do a little bit of fighting, right? Like we want Zelda to be able to fight her own battles a little bit. So
Yeah.
yeah, it'll be interesting. And I just wonder because AG, I'm going to not be able to say his last name, Nume, the producer of Zelda, he said he didn't even know how many echoes there were, right? Like he said he hadn't counted them, which means, he probably is joking, but there's obviously a lot, right? I'm guessing over 100. How easy is it to get to them in a pinch? Like how do you choose one from a list? Do you keep one on hand for quick access? I want to know that sort of stuff as well. Like I don't want to have to scroll through huge menus to get to the thing that I want to create every time I want to create something, if that makes sense. I don't know.
Like the arrow attachments in Tears of the
Yeah.
Kingdom again.
Yeah.
Yes, yes.
Yes. Yes.
Yes. Perfect example. I'm like, where I'm scrolling around looking for the one I want. Like, where is it?
Yeah. I don't need quantity. I need just quality,
Yeah.
I just
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. But that sounds negative, but it is it's obviously a new game in the series, which is awesome. I think we
Yep.
all had our hopes pegged on a good remake, but this is something we didn't even expect, which is to see not only a new entry but something featuring Zelda, which I think is awesome too. So I hope it does well. I hope fans embrace it. It's hard to tell what will happen. I think from what I've seen online, people seem to be positive about it. Have you guys heard any kind of feedback or comments or anything like that around sentiment, or not really?
I was
Nope. But I
I
haven't
was
gone looking for it either. So
Mm,
yeah. I One of my friends, he was saying that, like people aren't going to be happy either way, but some people are like, oh well, why yeah, she could wield the sword if she wanted to, like that, like if they had done it that way, they'd be like, oh, they didn't make her different enough, she's just a clone of Link, or like you're gonna have
mm, mhm.
you're gonna have the negative comments either way. So um
Yeah,
I thought they did great with trying to make something that is tailored to her character already, and
yeah,
not just. And again, like who knows? Link and Ganon still feature heavily on the box art for this game,
hmm hmm
so I still fully kind of anticipate will be. There's some things they haven't shown us about this game that
yeah, yeah. I was
uh,
even saying to my kids when we watched it, like, I wonder if you switch between Zelda and Link sometimes. Like, what's Link doing in this cracked parallel
yes,
universe wherever he is?
yep. I think
So
I think I think you're spot on, Gemma. I could easily see us like instead of her wielding the sword, the times where you might be going into dungeon, it's going into that area and
Mhm.
you're assuming Link, right? I don't know. Like, yeah, it's gonna be that could
Yeah.
be very that could be a really interesting way to do it.
Yeah, yeah. So very exciting to see. And I do as much as I love. I'd be very happy with just a traditional 2D top-down Link adventure. Very happy. But this is unexpected and a pleasant surprise, and I hope it. Like I said, I hope it does well, and I hope I'm sure it'll be good. It's different, and hopefully it gets the reaction it deserves, and we'll enjoy it. But yeah, we don't have long to wait. Like you said, only a few months. So yeah.
And I also like that they called it The Legend of Zelda. It echoes
Mm.
of wisdom. It's not The Legend of Zelda, Zelda's Grand Adventure, or something like that to highlight that you're playing as her. This
Yeah.
is a Zelda game. It doesn't matter who you're playing as. This is a
Mm.
Zelda game, just like any other, and
Yeah.
you're gonna have fun with it. So I greatly approve of that decision.
That's a good point. A lot of what I saw online actually was about the name. They're like, "Oh, it should be The Legend of Link." And I'm like, can see,
That's
yeah.
yeah, simple. Yeah, way to think about it.
Yeah, but I think I agree with you, Kirk, that this it's still it's part of the series, and I think that's important
Yeah,
to yeah. You don't wanna differentiate between the 2 characters that much. You wanna keep them they're part and parcel of, it's the Triforce, like you said. Justin, it's always Link and Zelda. They're part and parcel of what makes
Yeah,
up this whole. It's a Legend of Zelda. Like she is. You can't have it. You can't have the series without her.
yeah,
Anyway,
exactly.
this is just yeah. So we get to play as her, which is really exciting. Yeah, and so that was a huge announcement. That was towards the end, not the final one though. When that came up, I'm like, huh, that's now, and we've still got like 20 minutes to go. What are they saving till the end? Of course, we know what that is now, but we've only got a couple more to talk about. So let's go on to if we're good with The Legend of Zelda: Echoes of Wisdom. Was there any other comments to make about that one before we do move on? Or we're good?
we're
Yeah,
good.
We're good.
looking forward.
Okay. So we've got two more to talk about on the show today. We're going to talk about Ace Attorney Investigations Collection, which comes out on September the 6th. So pretty soon. Also, pre-orders are open now. And this one looked really, really interesting. And Kirk, what did you think about this one? Because you're a fan of this series, aren't you? We've talked about this before.
I
This
am.
series, yeah.
I love the games. I love the way they've done them on the Switch with the extras that they give. The way they just look and play, I think, is fantastic. I'm really excited about this one because I have not played a single game in this collection. So all of this is going to
Oh,
be new for me. And I
cool.
believe that's the first time on the Switch with any of these releases that's happened.
Wow, that's exciting then. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah,
I
most
mean,
of the games we've gotten have all been remakes. I can't remember the
mhm.
last time. I don't think any of the Switch games have been new. I think they've all been remakes.
Yeah, I think so too. Yeah, I believe you're correct with that one. So what makes up this collection? Do we know how many games or what sort of a
Uh,
collection it is?
Did they say in that? I know it's the Miles Edgeworth game, so you're not playing as the defense attorney. You're playing as the prosecuting attorney this time.
Mm-hmm.
So
Right.
that changes it up quite a bit. And I imagine there are going to be other things that will be the same, like the investigating the crime scenes and such.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, since I haven't played them, I don't know how different they are, and I'm looking forward to finding out.
Yeah, and so there's two. I believe there are two Miles Edgeworth adventures in this collection.
Okay.
So we're getting two games.
Oh, is two games a collection? Are we going to have
Well,
this
yeah,
conversation
I
again?
know. I do like to. I like to query that, obviously, as I do. I don't think so, but hey, what do I know? Maybe it just has to be more than one.
Yeah,
You
I
could have.
guess.
We could have had the Luigi's Mansion collection with Luigi's Mansion 1 and 2, but yeah, I don't know. Unless it's the only Miles Edgeworth games that they have. Are there only two in that kind of cutaway
No, I
series?
thought
Or
I thought there were three, but I'm assuming not. I
uh,
must have been wrong because why would they not add put
yeah,
them all in?
yeah, well,
So
that's it. I guess a collection to me means all of them, right? So,
yeah,
for example, if it was Luigi's Mansion, I would package 1, 2, and 3 and call that a collection. Miles Edgeworth, yeah, I would do the same. If there were two, then that makes that Miles Edgeworth collection. But if there are three, well, it's not a full collection, at least in my opinion. But yeah, anyway. So you've not played Miles. I can't even say Miles Edgeworth very well.
Miles Edgeworth. He's been in many of the games. He was. There's a whole history between him and you're gonna again my brain. Uh, God, what's the guy's name?
What,
I
Ace
keep wanting
Attorney?
to say Apollo.
Oh,
Phoenix Wright. Good
oh
grief.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, there's a huge history between he and Phoenix, and they went up together against each other a lot.
Hmm.
But there's more to it, and there's kind of a friendship there too as well. So, but
Right.
this will be the first time I've been able to play a full game as Miles.
Cool. So it sounds like they have some sort of respect for each other as,
Yeah,
no,
yeah,
yeah.
they went to school together and then had a falling out.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh yeah, all the games are connected in one way or another.
Cool. It does look good, and I love his little ruffles on his little outfit. So he's got this red jacket with this ruffled neck kind of
Yeah,
thing.
a very proper, handsome-looking man.
Yes, yes, very. Excellent. Thank you, Kirk. Well, the very, very last announcement as part of the Nintendo Direct was, of course, Metroid Prime 4 Beyond, which is coming out. We don't know the exact date, but it's 2025. How many years, Justin and Kirk, have we been waiting for more news on this one? Is it 7? Is it
7.
7 years? Yeah,
Lucky 7. Yeah.
lucky 7. So we
Well,
finally saw. So yeah, Justin, how did you feel when you finally saw something about this game after all this time?
oh man, I knew it was something Metroid related. Like they said, okay, one more announcement, and then it prints on the screen the text, and I'm like,
Hmm.
oh, I was like, Katie, it's Metroid, something Metroid, and I was like, I hope it's not just the remasters. I hope this is
Yeah.
leading to something more. And then like when the footage started playing, I was like, that's a new ship. Wait, this has got to be Metroid Prime 4. So it was just I was very I was very elated to see it. Just like as your mind starts playing tricks on you. You're like, okay,
Mm.
well maybe it is vaporware at this point, right? Like Nintendo, maybe it's having troubles again, but they would come out and tell us, right? Because they told us before. So
Mm. Mhm.
anyways, so you're just uh, and I kept like playing it in my head, like, well, what makes more sense? Do they just wait till the Switch 2 comes out and launch it for that, And
Mm.
I think I like that they didn't wait for the Switch 2. To me, I still think they'll probably release some sort of an enhanced something, or it'll just look that much better on the Switch 2, right? Um,
Yeah.
but I'm
Yeah.
I'm so glad they're like, no, we've been building this for the Switch. We promised it to Switch players back in 2017, the very first year of the Switch, right?
Yeah.
Like some people probably would have bought a Switch back then, maybe because they knew Metroid Prime 4 was coming, right? Like that's
Mhm.
been one of
Mhm.
those sort of like carrots Nintendo's been dangling for 7 years in front of would-be Switch owners. So
Mhm.
um, I think they almost had to, like, for Nintendo's sort of like honor, like
Yeah.
they were really, you know, I, like I remember when they announced that development had to be rebooted, they bowed very very low. Do you remember that? Like
Right. Yeah.
the
Yeah.
lower the bow, I think the more like they're like, we are terribly sorry that
Yeah.
we that we had to do this.
Mhm.
So I think I'm glad and it was the same presenter, I think, this time that talked about it. So I think he looked really excited that, like,
Ah.
yes,
Yeah.
I'm able to say, yes, we have something more to show you, and coming.
Mhm.
And the fact that it's coming next year, I still, that could very well be November of next year, right? It could
Yeah.
still be effectively a year and a half away.
Mm. Mhm.
But I have a feeling they wouldn't have announced 2025 if they weren't fairly positive it would land sometime in that time frame. Like after 7 years, 5 years after they rebooted development,
Mhm.
I'm sure they just want to be very careful. Okay, next time we show this, if we give any sort of a year, we need to be pretty close to that. So
Yeah. Yeah.
I think they're going to try to do everything in their power not to have this slip to 2026.
Mhm.
But I don't know. Here's hoping. But Yeah, everything they showed in it is interesting. Seeing Silux, he's one of the hunters from the Metroid Prime Hunters game. It'll be interesting to see, like, are they going to have other, the other bounty hunters that they had in that game, or is he? I doubt he's going to be the primary antagonist, but
Mhm.
um, it is interesting that he had like Metroids like as his like watchdogs, right? Like he's rolling with
Mm.
Metroids, and it's just like, oh man, yeah, he's. Anyways, um, I love that last shot in the trailer that just shows, they kind of show like, okay, there's a bunch of stuff going on here. I'm not seeing kind of my typical Metroid of just being isolated on a planet and just finding things. Like I almost love the isolation in Metroid games. It's kind of weird.
Mm. Yeah.
But that last scene where they show, you kind of into this kind of jungly area, waterfalls, big tree in the background, and bridge. It's just like, oh man. And it looks like she's walking out of a portal. So like part of me is wondering, is there going to be even the logo of Metroid Prime 4 Beyond? It sort of looks like a black hole. So I'm wondering if there's going to be,
Mm.
space time, reality bending type stuff where maybe we're going to go to multiple planets, but you can kind of teleport there, or, go through these kind of warp pools. And they've already, with Metro Prime 2, they had the light and the dark world, so anyways, I'm just very, very excited about it. So
Excellent. Well, I mean, that's exactly what they wanted, is for fans, who have been waiting, like yourself and like all of us, to be excited and to see that and go, "Yep, this is what I've been waiting for. Bring it on," kind of thing.
yeah,
Yeah, I love that analysis of the trailer. That's really coul. And, I would hope it would come out in the first half of the year, but you could be right. Who knows when that could happen in 2025, really.
yeah,
We don't know. We'll find out. But for now, yeah. Excuse me. And I think he even apologized, didn't he, during this direct about the delay? Like, sorry, sorry,
yeah.
we'll have
Sorry,
to
it's been
wait a
so
little
long.
longer. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So I think, and that's one of the things I love about Nintendo, like that they do that they're pretty honorable, like you said, the word honor. They do the bow, they do the sorry, they're pretty upfront with us. They're pretty honest, I think.
Yeah.
And I do love that. I do appreciate that. So, and has it been worth the wait for you?
Like it was such a short trailer. It was
Hmm.
still amazing to see some of the things they showed. But it's just that tip of the iceberg now. But it's
Mm.
just like, yes, it's still alive. There,
Yeah.
we're getting closer. I do sort of hope and anticipate we see it, like subsequent directs. I kind of hope we see more trailers for this. Now, granted, it may not
Mm.
be kind of like with Zelda, right? We kind of had to wait. They still did trailers kind of around the E3 time every year,
Mhm.
so we may still have to wait, maybe to March next year or something. But I, I
Yeah.
I could see them easily showing some new stuff for the Switch 2 showcase if they announce Switch 2 and they show some titles like, hey, it's going to be backwards compatible, and hey, here's a new look at Metroid Prime 4 Beyond, and also coming to
Mhm.
Switch 2. Or, I don't know. But
Yeah.
they need, like, now that they've shown it, the kind of the onus is on them. They need to keep showing us, and
Yeah. Yeah.
until like the next trailer should say something like summer 2025, and then the
Yeah.
third, maybe the third and final trailer says, here's the final release date,
Yeah. Yeah.
August 20, whatever it is.
Yeah. That's it. Exactly. Kirk, do you have how did you feel about the trailer and the surprise ending? Was it a surprise? We were hoping, I think, and we probably assumed we'd hear something, but still a surprise to see something finally after all these years. How'd you
Yeah, I
feel?
missed it.
You missed it? You missed it?
the, the trash truck came down the street just as they were about to announce it. So I had to hurry up and get the trash outside. And I was like, Tierney, you got to sit here and tell me what the final announcement was. And I come back in and she goes, the new Metroid game? Like it was nothing. I'm
Uh,
like,
like
oh
like
my
what?
God. How can you deliver that line with no emotion?
Oh my gosh, that's hilarious.
So yeah, I missed the announcement, but yeah, really looking forward to the game. I love the Metroid games,
Yeah.
and it's not a style of game that I really usually enjoy. So
Mhm,
it
mhm.
rises above that whole first person shooter thing for me.
Mhm.
Mm. Yeah, yeah, same, exactly. And I think it's actually a lot of, a lot of people who are not strong Nintendo fans, like I would say we are, but dabble in Nintendo, for example, love this series. Like this is a series that does bring people who aren't traditional Nintendo, they might not
Yeah,
be Mario Party players or whatever, but they love the Metroid Prime series because it is a bit more, I don't know, it's a bit bigger and bolder and more mature. I don't know, it's darker. It's got something else that the other series don't have. Zelda
yeah,
doesn't cover this kind of stuff, neither does Mario. So this is a unique little IP in Nintendo's collection, and I'm glad that they're finally giving us more of that. So yeah, it'd be very exciting, very very
And does
exciting.
just the sort of like ambiguous 2025 release date sort of hint that we're definitely getting backwards compatibility? Because if it's coming out after the Switch 2 or
yeah,
whatever it is,
Mm,
then
yeah,
everyone's still going to need to be able to play it.
yeah.
But if it's coming out right before, then
Mm,
you want to make sure that you're going to be able to move your progress over to the new
yeah,
system.
yeah,
Otherwise, you got to hold
mm,
on to your old system when you get the new one. So I
yeah. I
like
think,
to think
yeah,
that's what we're getting, unless they plan on releasing a version specifically for the new Switch.
yeah. I think, yeah, it's just kind of more smoke, to that fire, right? Of backwards compatibility. To me, they almost just have to have that there. So yeah, I think you're spot on, Kirk. I think this adds fuel to that fire.
Yeah,
yeah, it is a really good point. I agree. Um, they have to go down the path, I think, at this point. And especially now that we've had this direct and we've got now the next kind of 6 months or so, even beyond, because a few titles were 2025. We've got quite a few big titles to look forward to, especially if you're getting a physical version of the game like Mario Party or Metro Prime or Zelda. You're going to want to be able to play it on the new system. So it has to be able to take that cart. It has to be able to take the Switch cart and fit that in and play it. I don't know how the
yeah,
digital stuff's going to work. That's a whole that's a whole
Mhm.
other thing. But you
They've
would hope you can transfer.
Yeah, they've talked about the Nintendo accounts making sure that transfer, like with the
Mm.
Switch and that account system, they're fully on board now with the accounts. So they're yeah, if they don't have digital transfers, it's going to be bedlam. So
Yeah. Yeah, because I don't want like I might want to trade in my Switch to get my Switch 2, and I
yeah,
don't want to lose the stuff that's on my Switch, obviously, that I've
yeah.
bought over the
I,
years.
I
So, yeah.
I could see them like I kind of like companies where they kind of introduce like an official trade-in option. They'll probably still leave that to GameStop and other retailers, but it would be like Apple's done that with their devices, and other companies have been doing these trade-in programs. I mean, that could
Mm.
be a pretty, and if they have some things that make that kind of seamless, where like, hey, well, all your save games, yep, can just transfer. Like think about it. If you could lead up to the launch of the Switch 2, and you could say, yep, yep, let me go ahead and back up all my saves in the cloud. I can just download these, day one, on the Switch 2. Yeah,
Mm.
sort of like when you get
Mhm.
a new phone, right? It just like
Yeah.
hey, copy the stuff from here, and then it just kind of downloads the stuff in the background that you had on your previous one. So
Yeah.
if
Yep.
they can make that transition just really seamless, um, you're going to get a lot of people jumping on board. And if the trade options are really good, think about it. If the Switch 2 is, let's say, like $400, like there's potential that this could be the most expensive system ever. Nintendo's done
Mm.
350, 400, maybe somewhere in that range. I know they're going to try and get it or close to 300, um, but it could sting a little less if it's like, hey, you got full backwards compatibility, trade in your Switch, and if you do that, then it's like you're just $200 out of pocket, or whatever. So,
Mm. Mhm. Yeah, which is yeah, it's a good deal. I would consider doing that. I don't think I usually do that though. Like I have all my old systems. I don't like
yeah,
trading in my old systems, but
yeah,
I would consider doing that, especially if it is like the phones are so easy now. You just
yeah,
it's seamless. You just transfer it across. It's wonderful. I love it. I really
yeah.
hope that's the case for the Switch as well. That
I
would
think
make my
so.
life a lot easier. Mm. Yeah.
I traded in my Wii when I got the Wii U, and I regret that because I thought, well, it's going to play the same games, but it doesn't play the GameCube games, the Wii U.
Yeah,
Oh,
So,
yeah, that's true. Mm-hmm.
yeah, yeah.
Mm.
Like I would say, like what you said, Gemma. Up until this point, I would have said that's not probably a good play. Like for the ones where like for the DS and 3DS, like the initial 3DS was backwards compatible with DS,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
The initial DS, you could put Game Boy Advance games in there, right? So
That's
there
true.
were scenarios where, yeah, you could trade those in, but I think if this if the Switch 2 is very much similar, newer types of Joy Cons, but still compatible with older Joy Cons, just kind of this all sorts of compatibility there. It may be like, well, unless you're just super nostalgic, like, yeah, I want to have the Switch that I played for 7 years.
Yeah.
If you
Yeah.
did any of the OLED or whatever. Um, but yeah, it just might be just a better experience all around. Like, hey, a bigger screen, more horsepower, and all your games, more storage, faster storage, potentially.
Mm-hmm.
So, anyways,
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, definitely. Well, we'll see. So what do we expect next? I mean, not that I, you know, not that we're not grateful for the direct, but just speculating ahead of time. When can we expect another direct? Because Justin, you're usually really good at knowing that. Is it like September kind of thing?
yeah, I mean the next one, September's always typically been a lock for Nintendo
Mm-hmm.
for a direct. Usually that first or second week of September. So the only thing that brings some question marks into our minds right now is when we know they're going to announce it this fiscal year, right? The Switch 2. So that could be anywhere up to March 31 next year. I don't think they're going to wait that long.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I don't know. Remember with the when they announced the Switch, they did that in October, which is right before that big holiday season that Kirk was talking about. Like the
Mm.
majority of sales happen, Black Friday, like, after Thanksgiving, that kind of week or two right after Thanksgiving leading up to Christmas. Those are huge in the States. So the fact that they knew that they weren't going to cut the legs off the Wii U, that the Wii U was doing so poorly that they could
Mm.
announce the next system, leading into a holiday season and it not matter.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, but the Switch is in sort of a different place, right? It's still selling well. I anticipate it's still going to sell well even this holiday. So I wouldn't be surprised if they still said something before the end of the year that pointed to like a January type event like they did for the Switch, where they show some gameplay for the Switch 2, and
Mm-hmm.
because all they did in October to lead up to the Switch was just kind of like they showed that like sizzle reel where they show that like rooftop party. They showed a brief glimpse
Yeah.
of
Yeah.
Breath of the Wild and just like a person to put in the Joy Cons and taking the system with them, and so just like
Mm-hmm.
introduce the concept basically
Yeah.
very briefly.
Yeah.
I mean, they could do that, and maybe that doesn't cut the legs off of Switch sales for the holiday too much. But I could see them maybe deciding to wait till January to January, February, something like that to fully announce it. I don't know. It's going to be so maybe September is still like another Switch Direct, but I don't know. It's getting tight on like Donkey Kong Country HD is going up till January next year release. So if
Mm-hmm.
this Switch successor is going to be launching, March to November of next year, yeah, they're going to have to start talking about it soon. So I don't know. It's very interesting. I think we're going to know something. I think we'll know something in September. They'll be talking whether it's just a typical Switch Direct, and they say, maybe they just don't say we're not going to talk about the Switch 2 in this Direct, and people are like, oh, okay, they're going to start talking about it.
Yeah.
Anyways, we'll
Yeah.
see.
It's
But
going to be very, very interesting. Yeah.
yeah, we're sort
Um,
of in uncharted territory now. So
Yeah, and I think from a consumer perspective, because we are obviously, very involved with what Nintendo's doing, and we're listening and we're paying attention and we're reporting on it. So we're a lot closer to the source from that perspective, whereas typical consumers probably aren't so much so. So if they hear there's a Switch 2 coming. Like if it's officially announced, that will put consumers off, the general consumer. Whereas if they haven't announced it before the holiday season, those general typical mum and dad type people who are buying Switches for their kids or families or whatever are still going to go out and buy a Switch, because there's
Yes.
now we know that all of these games are coming that we've just talked about over the next 3 to 6 months. There's still a lot for people to do on a Switch, and so sales should still not be as big as they were, but they should still continue, I think, in some small
Yeah.
way for a
Yeah, and
little
I
bit
think
longer.
that's a really good point, Gemma. That like maybe Nintendo doesn't care that the enthusiast, ear to the ground, hardcore gamer uh, is even if they announce something in October, there's still going to be people buying Mario and Luigi for their kids for Christmas,
Mm,
Mario Party, and Switch
yeah.
Lights and Zelda, like you know. So that's a good point. That like I don't think that maybe it's not going to affect the Switch that much, right? Even if they do something then. But
Mm, yeah, could
uh,
be. Did you have anything, Kirk, to add to that before we kind of close things off for the week?
Oh no, I think we've pushed as far as we can today.
Okay.
we have.
Yeah, well, that was an awesome discussion about all things Nintendo Direct this week. What a huge show. So we've gone a bit over time this week because it had so much to talk about. So we hope listeners enjoyed hearing about all of these games, and we'd love to know your thoughts as well. So yeah, thank you for listening. Thank you both for joining me this week. If you would like to support us, you can do so over at patreon.com/pure Nintendo. We're busily working on our next edition of our physical magazine, and we'd love to get that into your hands. So please join us over there. We also, you can support us by following us on various social media channels such as Twitter/X, Mastodon, and Blue Sky. Don't forget to give us a like for this video if you're watching on YouTube, or support us on our podcasting channels by giving us a quick review. We'd really love to get your support there as well. So thank you again. Let us know your favorite games in the direct, and until next week, game on, everybody. Bye.